we're going to Friday nights with Emma. We have our friend Link, who's helping. Mikey on camera. Say hi to Mikey. We'll give you all a minute to join. It's been one of those days, so it's a G&T night tonight. Yeah, I'll do a little bit of sewing, but I'll wait till everybody's there so I can explain what I'm doing and whatnot. Anybody there? Anybody?
Catherine.
Oh, hi, Catherine.
Christine from
Hi,
Glasgow.
Christine. Hi, Christine.
Diamond.
Hi, Shirley.
Your Sarah.
Hey, Sarah. So I'm doing some binding tonight because I'm hoping if Christine from Barry joins, I'll be able to tell her why I'm doing this
Your
tonight.
Sarah says won't be on long as have Lacey.
Oh,
Terry.
hi, Terry.
Lorna.
Hi, Lorna. So I've cut my 3-inch strips for my binding, just straight binding. So I'm just sewing those at an angle. Let's do that. This is the last one I need to do.
Margaret.
Hi, Margaret. It's easier when it's
Kate.
who?
Kate.
Oh, hi, Kate. It's easier when it's a print because there's a right side and a wrong side, so it's easier not to get it mixed up. When it's a plain, it's a solid, you have to be really careful to make sure that you're sewing all your seams on the same side.
Christine.
Oh, hi, Christine. Is that Christine from Barry? Christine Goring?
Yes, it is.
Hi, Christine. Okay, so I was hoping you'd join because I am doing this binding for you tonight because your quilt is next up. I've got one on the frame at the moment, but yours is next in line.
Judith has been making a polar bear now covered in fluff.
Oh.
And Carol is watching.
Oh, hi, Carol. Yeah, so Christine, I don't have any polyester wadding. However, I do have some wool, and with your quilt, because it is also flannelly, and the back of this one is flannel, brush cotton, I thought I would get this one bound and then washed, and then I can report back on how the wool wadding in here washed for maybe using with your quilt, because I think if wool might make it really snuggly as an alternative to polyester, but still with enough poof to similar to polyester, if that will make sense.
Susan.
Oh, hi, Susan. Right, so that's my last seam.
Joanne and Mum Maureen.
Oh, hi, Joe. Hi, Mum Maureen. How are you doing?
Susan.
Hi, Susan.
Diane.
Hi, Diane. So now I'm just going to cut all of my edges off. Oh, Link, I'm not going outside.
Don't be silly. Don't be silly, Billy.
There we go. And this fabric, I'm happy to be finally using it actually, because I've had this fabric in my stash for a long time. It is a Civil War reproduction. Oh, hi, Dawn. And it's a steamer trunk pattern. So I'm assuming it's a pattern that would have been inside the steamer trunk, like the wallpaper that they put on the inside. Paper.
Joanne says,
paper.
doing really well. Last bits of sorting, and then we'll be able to relax and enjoy.
Yay! Exciting! Exciting.
Christine says, wool sounds okay.
Okay.
Will there be a special washing instruction, though? A 4-year-old can be messy.
Okay. That's what I'm going to test on this one. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to wash it, but on cold. And then I probably won't tumble dry it. So I'm hoping for a nice, dry, blustery nice, yeah, dry blustery day to dry it on the line, which is what I normally do with my quilts, to be fair. So wash them on cold, just in the regular washing machine, but then dry them on the line when it's a nice blowy day.
What's your problem? It's dark.
What I want to check is the shrink.
Christine is watching.
Oh, hi Christine. The other alternative is cotton bamboo, which washes really well, and it is very soft and drapey from the get-go, which would also be a good option. So things to think about. My extras. Right, so now I've got them all cut. The next thing I want to do, and I usually do this laying out on the table, I mean on the floor rather, because it's a little bit easier, but I want to take my binding and kind of run it along the edge to sort of test it. This is a square one. This is my Carpenter's Star quilt that I did, but I never got bound. But I want to make sure.
Christine says, I have some bamboo. It's fab. Perhaps that would be better.
Okay. Oops. Link, what are you doing? Link is acting up tonight. I still want to get this done and washed because I want to report back on how the wool is. So, I think the binding's going to look really good actually. I'm laying it down because I want to make sure that none of my seams end up on a corner, because you've got to go around the corner and fold the fabric over itself. It makes it really difficult if you've got a seam there. And this is a good way, if you lay it all out and sort of see where it's all going to lay, you can make adjustments now.
Joanne says, love the bamboo finish too, so will be interesting to see the wool.
Yeah. I'm actually a bit disappointed because I did put this on Michael's chair hoping that he would use it, but he hasn't. He's ignored it completely, even though it's snuggly and it's got, like I said, brushed cotton backing. But
when was that on my chair?
It was on the back of your chair for like at least the last 3 weeks.
Well, you need to make it more plain for me to see. I'm not the most observant person.
Okay, I see these are getting a little bit close to the corners, which isn't super bad, but I may want to move that start point a little bit. It's also a good way to make sure that you've got enough binding to go all the way around as well.
Says this is the same person who was looking around for his glass that he put on his plate.
That was classic. That was classic. Ooh, I may need another strip. Oh, it's come off. Okay, let me put this one on here.
Oh dear.
I saw 8 strips. I did my calculations and 7 should have done it, and I did 8 in order to be doubly sure.
Dear, oh dear, oh dear.
Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Yeah, oh no, that just kind of fit. It does overlap a little bit there. So we'll see. Okay, so that's all pretty good. That's what I'm going to do is I want to move these, make sure these seams are a little bit further away from the corner. So if I do that, that should shift them all down.
Sandra is watching from Ghana.
Oh, hi Sandra. Hope you're having good weather. Please send some this way. I think we're going to have a frost tonight. I was outside, I was packing the car ready for tomorrow morning on Soane Street, and I have a feeling I've just been given a blank quizzical look. We did tell him 2 weeks ago, didn't we?
Yes, you did. Joanne says, did you measure in metric or imperial?
Oh, imperial. It's always imperial with quilts, except for, ironically, the wadding and the backings. Those will I have to measure those in metric.
Sandra says it's hot here, 28 degrees.
Oh, that sounds beautiful. Okay, so I'm going to start sewing it. I've got a little leaving a tail because when it comes to joining the two end pieces up at the end, you're going to need a little bit free.
Barbara is watching.
Oh, hi Barbara. Hope you're doing well.
Joanne says she was just being cheeky. Sorry.
So I've got my walking foot on. I'm going to increase my stitch length to about 3 because it just makes it go a lot nicer.
Christine is watching.
Oh, hi Christine. And then we're just going to start with the beast. So I have folded my 3-inch strip in half, and I'm going to finish this up by hand. So I'm sewing it onto the front. So I'm going to fold it in half, making sure the raw edges are up against.
Ooh, this is a comfy one.
See? Now he figures it out.
I think this should go in my chair.
There we go. And then I just do my little forwards and backwards and a little lock stitch as well, just to be doubly safe. It doesn't come undone when I come to finishing the tails.
I'm sorry, Diamond. Did I miss a message?
Oh.
I must have missed one with Diamond. I'm sorry.
Oh no. Sleep on the job. There we go. There we go. And this is just the so. Actually, I've been doing a lot of binding this week.
Christine asked, have we got our heating on yet?
Yes, we caved. Michael caved.
Well,
2 weeks. Is it 2 weeks ago?
no. I only.
Oh no! It would have been a week. Yeah, 2 weeks ago because I've been back this week.
I only put it on because you weren't feeling well, so.
Yeah, that's what
it was under duress.
Yeah, I was not feeling well that Sunday.
And your Sarah said, no, it should go on my chair.
Yeah, it's going to be nice to sit under this while I'm doing the binding, actually. That's the best thing about winter quilting, is finishing the binding up.
Joanne says momentary lapse.
There's been a lot of those.
There has been. Well, you know what they say, once you hit 50, things start to go, so maybe it's my brain. That'll be first.
Well, I do have to tell him about the plate glass. So Michael had finished his tea and he'd had his glass and he put his glass on top of his plate and he was holding his plate and he was looking around and he's like, I just had a glass in my hand. I don't understand where my glass is. And it's sitting on his plate and he can't understand why I'm laughing my bum off, taking a picture of him and sending it to Kaylee and explaining her the situation. And she was like, oh dear, oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. This is how it starts. Took him a while. He finally sussed.
Diamond says my comment exactly. And Christine says, what width is your binding, please?
Oh, 3 inches. I always do 3 inches. And I find that, because 2.5, I know a lot of people do that. I always find that a bit too short. But I like to do 3 inches and then sewing it. I'm not really measuring where I'm sewing it, but I don't know if you can see this bit, Michael. But the edge of my walking foot right here, so this edge along here, is level with all the raw edges of my quilt and my binding. And that's what I use as my gauge when I'm sewing it. So it's roughly a 1/2 inch, maybe not quite.
Joanne says this sort of thing is happening to me.
And then when I fold it over, that gives me a nice generous amount to go over and really nicely hide that sewing on that side, so it's not skimping and it's not too tight, and it gives you a nice edge. So 3 inches is my rule of thumb for binding.
Your Sarah says time for a home, Mikey. No, Emma is under orders.
No, I'm not allowed to do that.
Joanne says I only do smaller than 3 on small quilts or wall hanging, so it keeps it in proportion.
Yes, absolutely.
And Christine says thank you.
Yeah, he's feeling his oats tonight, aren't you? When I get to the corner, I'll show you how I do the corners. Yeah, actually, I'm quite chuffed about using this. It was a last minute decision to use this fabric, and I was umming and ahhing. I'm like, but it's so nice, and I've had it. But then I was like, yeah, but you've had it for so long and you haven't used it for anything. It's time to just use it. But I still have quite a bit left over, so I actually had more than I thought. I think I've probably got about a yard left, because it was bought in yards. It's that old. So is anybody caught up on The Crown? That's the last thing I binged this week, because I was doing binding on a customer quilt, so I had to get that done. And you can't just sit and do binding without watching telly, because that's just...
Joanne says stroking fabric and stashing fabric is a different hobby to quilting and making.
It is. This is true. I need to get rid of some stash though. I need to start using it. And get some of these done. Here we go. Here we go. So I'm going to sew to the end until it's about... The needle is about the same distance away from the edge as my seam allowance is, if that makes sense. And I usually do it by eye, and it doesn't matter if you go a little bit too close to the edge, because you can always unpick it a little bit. Do one more. There we go. And then I'm going to do some backwards and forwards.
Christine says husband won't watch The Crown, so I have to wait until he's not.
Oh yeah, see, Hobie didn't want to, but he kind of got sucked in for a few episodes, but then he did leave me to it. Yeah, he wasn't into The Crown this season.
Joanne says colors in this quilt are beautiful.
Oh, thank you. Right, so I've sewn, I don't know if you can see, I've got a gap. Got a gap there.
Mind the gap.
Mind the gap. And then what you do is...
Sandy's watching.
You fold it at a right angle. Oh, hi, Sandy. This way. So you've got a nice diagonal. And then you fold it back on itself this way. So you want that raw edge to be along this edge now. Get nice and even. And then I do tug it just ever so slightly, so that I don't leave it too close to the edge. So you want about a 1/16 of an inch gap there between the raw edge and your fold. And I find if you just do that ever so slightly, when you fold it over, it makes it a little bit neater. Because if you get your fold too far that way, if you over the raw edge, you end up with a bit too much fabric in that corner. But give it a try. And I'll sew this down a little bit and I'll show you how that corner goes over. And the clips are invaluable for binding. I love using the clips. There, so leave that there. So I've got my clip, and you'll see you don't even have to cut this corner. Sometimes if it's a little bit too much, I do clip it, but usually it's fine.
Joanne says, have watched previous series, but not sure if I want to watch this one. The others had events in them that were a bit before my knowledge, whereas this series I remember lots being in the news.
Yeah.
And Christine says, what stitch length are you using?
I'm using a 3, so it is a little bit longer. So if I press that down, you'll see. So I would hand stitch this bit. So if I was coming along here, I would hand stitch it down. And I think I use a slightly bigger gap in between my stitches than a lot of people do. I leave, it's about a clip's width, so not quite a quarter of an inch, I mean half an inch. So I use about that much gap in between all of my stitches, because I find otherwise I'll be there forever. And yes, some of my binding has come apart, but it's not because of my stitches, it's because my thread broke and then it's come off. And that is after years and years of use and washing, so I think it's fine. So anyway, so I'd stitch all along here and stitch it down to about here, so that is nice and secure. And then you fold it over, and then you go along this edge, and you see you've got a nice finished corner. And I would fuss with that with my needle to make sure that that fold sits really nicely, so it's all matched. And then you get that on that side, so it's nice and neat.
Christine says, good tip. Is that why my mitered corners are not very good?
If it's for the binding, it could be. So yeah, so you can see, if I show you here, I've left a little bit of a gap there between the raw edge and the fold on my binding. And it's only after years and years of doing it that I've kind of learnt that little trick.
Becky is watching.
Oh, hi Becky. Becky, Buffer?
Sorry?
Is it Buffer?
Becky Alexander.
Yes! Ah! Hello! Love your quilt that you did. I saw the pictures. I didn't get to see it live. It was beautiful. And I love your organisation. I wish I could be that organised. I do it if I have to, but otherwise...
Christine says, thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome.
Diamond says, I agree with your stitch length on the back of the binding. It can be too tight.
Yeah. I think that's just about... For me, it's just about right. And then I also, when I stitch it down, I actually have started using hand quilting thread. So it's a little bit thicker anyway.
Your Sarah says, right, got to go sort Lacey out for bed. See you
Sarah.
soon.
Night night, Lacey.
Diana is watching.
Oh, hi Diana.
And Becky says, thank you.
It would be nice to get this bit done, because then you can just sit and do the back as and when. It is feeling quite nice actually. It's this wool, you can see the quilting, there's a little bit of poof on it, but it's actually not as heavy as a cotton one would be. It's quite light. So I will report back on how it washes and how it feels. And Mikey will have to let you know how snuggly it is, how warm it is.
Yes, I don't like the heavy quilts. Diamond S, who are you on with this weekend?
I'm pretty sure it's John tomorrow. I'm sure I saw it on Facebook that he posted he would be on tomorrow. Yay.
9 and 11.
I hope so. That's what I'm banking on.
Oh, that means we gotta move the cars.
Yeah.
That means I have to get up.
You get up anyway.
Yeah, I know. Becky says she doesn't like a heavy quilt either.
And see, I don't mind. It depends. I do like it. I do like a like 100% or 80-20 cotton quilt in the summertime. When it's those really hot nights and a duvet is too much, but a cotton quilt is just enough, and you've got that nice weight to it as well, so you feel like you are underneath something, but it is cool. It actually can sometimes actually be really cool to the touch, so it actually takes some of the heat off you. So that is when I do like a nice cotton quilt, is in the heat of summer. But yeah, it's very counterintuitive that you'd want a quilt in the summer, but yeah, I do like a light one, a light but warm one in the winter time.
Catherine says she likes you and John. You work well together.
Oh, yeah, that's what Mikey says. Yeah, I haven't seen Vicky forever. Vix. Yeah, it might be a little bit boring, just me sewing down binding. Let's shift that a little bit.
Joanne says, have found brushed cotton bedding is cooler in the summer than normal bedding.
Oh, that's interesting. I wouldn't have thought that. We do have it in the winter time. There's some. Oh, we have the teddy bear. It's not cold enough for that yet though. But we do have the teddy bear sheets and duvet. That is nice. That is seriously snuggly and warm. You really need it. It needs to be like proper cold for that to come out though. It's actually just real nice. I cheated, and this is a brushed cotton flat sheet from Dunelm that I washed before I used it. But they have been really nice actually, and relatively inexpensive.
Diamond says her Tulip Moon garden fabric arrived today.
Ooh,
it is gorgeous.
I bet.
Really large prints.
Nice. That's going to be really nice. Really nice. Oh, coming to another corner.
Christine says she has awful memories of briny sheets when I was a child.
Oh, yeah. Stripy ones. My nanny used to have sort of flannelette, brushed cotton, stripy.
Christine says nylon sheets.
Oh, nylon. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. You probably don't know. Yeah, nylon sheets are not. They were sort of fuzzy, but nylon, and yeah, if you snagged, yeah, it wasn't very nice. I don't think we had very. I mean, we must have had it at some point. I don't think Mum ever had. I don't remember. I know we had duvet. Always had duvet sets, and there was one particular duvet set that me and my brother would fight over. It was a really nice blue, and it had big swirls on it, or circles, I think, on the other side. Yeah. That's one of my favourites.
Christine says you would spark getting in and out of bed.
Yes. That too. There we go. I've got my gap. Mine's the gap. I'm not cutting this thread. I'm just carrying on. I mean, it might get caught. I will cut it if it gets caught, like it has now.
Christine says with static, you had your own light show.
There we go. That's almost 2 sides. Oh, I'm almost halfway done. What time is it?
Dark, dark.
Dark, 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 dark. Yeah, this might be my... Oh no, it's Strictly tomorrow night. This will be my In Front of Strictly project. Although it's getting... Strictly's getting shorter and shorter now. There's less people on it. Oh, I will show you this. So, where I've trimmed it, you can see... this is where I cut it off square, but there's less top than there is backing. You can basically see the wadding there. But I'm not worried about that because that is less than 1/4 inch. I've got a generous seam on my binding, and I'll show you. You won't see that. It will be caught hidden in the binding, basically.
Joanne says she had a nylon uniform and worked in the supermarket in the freezer section. Moving metal cages, lots of static, not the most fun.
No.
Diamond says a duck feather eater down in a gold paisley pattern fabric was my lifesaver when I was young in the winter.
That sounds nice. I had to give my down duvet to Sarah because I literally woke up in the middle of the night and my nose was absolutely streaming. I couldn't sleep with it at all. Yeah, so you can see, you can't see any of that on that side, and then here is where that gap was. So you can see it's really hidden inside the binding. So don't, if that ever happens to you, don't worry because it's all hidden. Nobody sees it. This is one of my favourite quilting patterns as well, the Abundant Feathers.
Dawn says, oh, the best ever.
Oh. I also haven't pressed my seams. They're just sort of going where they want to go. They're going flat. So I don't need to worry about it too much. It's just nice to get it done. This is actually a relatively quick make. Actually, I've got the Christmas one like this to finish off as well. Might have to do that. I need to twizzle it. There we go.
Dawn says, oh, I made the Christmas one. Is this your pattern?
Yeah. Yes, this is the Carpenter's Star. Made from a layer cake and some background fabric.
Christine says, did your quilt top sew together quickly?
Yeah, because it's nice big triangles and squares. It does go together really quickly. Once I've got it all sewn, I'll show you. I'll show you seeing it. I think I did this one when I was on with Stuart once.
Dawn says, yes, that's it. I love it in your fabric.
Oh, thanks. Yeah. This is all like Civil War reproduction. Or at least colours, definitely. Maybe not so much the yellow, because the yellow that was Civil War, which I've got in my stash, is more of a cheddar. Like a orangey colour. But this does go nice. This is 3 sides. Coming up to the corner. See, it is a fairly big quilt. I think, why did I measure it out? I think 71 square. It just goes to show, it didn't take me long to cut the strips. And in an hour, you can get the binding sewn onto the top.
Christine says, I'm planning a row by row quilt for her next project.
Oh, that'd be nice. Which one?
Which one? What?
Which row by row?
Oh,
quilt?
sorry. Catherine says, I think I got this quilt and it's in my list of things to do. So much fabric.
Oh,
Too little time.
Yeah. Well, it is a relatively quick make, I will say. Where's that? Oh. I'm just going to unpick this bit because it's where I have basted the edges for when I'm quilting, and I think that might just peek through the other side. I'm not sure. Oh, thank you, my love. Thank you. That's what I needed. There we go. Yeah, hopefully I'll get this finished, and hopefully we'll have a nice dry day at some point.
Diamond says, do you think buying layer cakes is a good idea? I worry that you maybe lose so much of the pattern sometimes.
Oh, it depends. So for this pattern that I used, you literally, I mean, there's very little waste. The only thing you have to trim down really there's 4 squares that you have to cut down, I think to 9 inches or something like that, maybe a little bit less. But all the other are half square triangles. So you literally use every scrap that you've got. I think layer cakes are good for using for patterns that are designed for them, if that makes sense, because there are other patterns where you sew squares together, then you cut them up different ways, but there's no wastage. You just get to combine all those lovely fabrics and colours.
Christine says she follows an Australian lady on Facebook, and she did a sew along at the beginning of the year.
Oh, nice. Actually, I've got a sew along that with trees that I wanted to do, which I never got around to. But I have the pattern, which is a really nice pattern. Those are fun. Keeps you on track as well. Right, so I think I might have gone a little bit too close to the edge on this one, and I can show you how to rectify that. So I've done my backwards and forwards, so I know that's not going anywhere. So let's have a look. So I'll fold that over. Yeah, it's a little bit, maybe need to take a stitch or so out of that. But because I've gone backwards and forwards, just taking one stitch out of that isn't going to make a problem. There we go, that's better. And then that is, actually I'll do a little bit more. There, my gap. Make sure everything's lined up. There we go. Try and keep those out of the way so they don't get tangled. we might actually get to see the last bit as well, where I put it all together. It's all tangled up around my legs. There we go. I think this fabric, when I was measuring it, it was actually not as wide as fabric we get nowadays. So I don't know whether fabric is a little bit wider than it used to be, because it was like just at 40 inches or so. And usually around about 42. Go. Home stretch.
Christine says, I'm surprised Link isn't wrapped up in it somewhere.
I don't know where he is. He's I don't know, he's abandoned us. He thought there was no entertainment value here whatsoever. And he's going to go somewhere else. This is the bit that takes the longest, is the lining up and the running through. Nice. All my seams are nicely in the middle, well, in the middle, but along the edge of the quilt, not at any corners. That worked out really well. Here's the middle of the last edge.
I know I'm going to pronounce this wrong, but I'm just going to say it as it reads. No Flower asks, how do I get in touch to have a top quilted?
Oh, you can message me, or if you go to the website, which is Swift Quilting, swiftquilting.com. It's a Swift Quilting company. You've got my contact details on there, so you can email me or you can call me directly. There is a couple of pages on there, one with lots of information on how to prepare a quilt, what will happen, you know, what you need to make sure you've got in place for quilting. The patterns, although I've got more patterns than is on the website now, which I need to go through and add all of the new ones on at some point. But usually we'll have a chat. There's also a cost calculator on there as well. So if you put your width and length in inches, it'll give you a cost. And then usually people will send them to me unless they've got an idea exactly what they want. Then they will let me know that. But very often people will send them to me, and then we have a discussion when they get quilted or before they get quilted about which thread to use, which pattern to use, and I will give a few suggestions. Again, unless somebody knows exactly, like, I want this thread colour and this pattern, which happens occasionally, but mostly I will send a few suggestions of pattern, also based on your own preferences. So if there's any particular patterns that you like, whether it's denser, whether it's more loose, whether you want something modern, simple, elaborate, all of those things. I just ran out of top thread. That's what happened there. I'll trim that off. So yeah, go to the website. That's the best place. hold that up for me a little bit just to take some of the weight because it's dragging. There we go. Yeah, I'm actually getting all the quilting done at the moment. So I had one lady pick up one that was finished this week. I've literally just finished the binding on one for a lady who was from abroad and wanted it to be for her daughter. So I'll need to get that delivered. And then I've got another one on the frame, which will hopefully be done this weekend. And then Chris is up next.
Joanne says you have some examples of the ones you have done on your Facebook page too.
Oh yes, thank you. Yeah, Facebook and on Instagram as well. There's a lot of pictures of ones. The one that I've got on there at the moment, I'm going to have to take a picture as well. It's a Christmas one. And it's turning out really nice. Dare I say, maybe even be putting me in the mood for Christmas. Although we've got to have Thanksgiving yet. There we go. Almost to the corner, and then we get to the good bit.
Christine says, I hope the quilting police are on vacation.
There's no quilting police in this house.
Dawn asked, do you have Christmas patterns for long arm quilting?
I do. The one that I'm doing at the moment is holly, mistletoe and pine, I want to say. It's a very pretty one. I've used it on other Christmas quilts. I bet I will take a little video of it at the weekend before it comes off the frame. I've got, like I said, I've got some that I haven't actually got on the website. So I've got one which I am planning to use for the Christmas in Quiltsborough, because I haven't quilted that one yet, which is Christmas lights. I've also got a lot of snowflakes. Which other one? Well, I just literally was looking at them. But yeah, but if you want to see the Christmassy ones, just let me know, and I will take some pictures of the ones I've got on the machine but not on the website yet.
Dawn says, oh, sounds fab, I need to drop mine in.
Yes. Getting parched. No, leave that. Right, last corner. Oh, just enough. Oh, you beauty. Okay. There we go. Mind the gap. So, turn this around now. You're going to want to sew it so you've got enough of a gap to put those two together. So, wasn't sure we'd get to this part. This is my favourite bit to demonstrate. Okay, I think that's maybe a bit more. If you're doing it for the first time, it's always good to err on the side of larger gap than smaller gap because it's a lot easier to manage.
Christine says, doing a reverse stitch, does it reinforce the corners?
It does, and yeah, I like to do that so that those stitches don't come undone, basically. So yeah, so I always do, yeah, reinforce the edges on the corners like that.
And Diamond says we are waiting for the join.
Yeah. So I might need your help on this one, Michael. I might need you. Can you hold it there for me? Yeah. So remove. Don't want to spill that. Remove the machine a little bit. Okay. So the idea is you want these to overlap by the same amount as the width. So I'm going to trim this off, and somewhere in the middle roughly, because it will be easier. So if I fold this in half, so gauge roughly where the middle is, or it's going to overlap. So I'm just going to cut that like that. Okay. Now if I use a clip, it will help me a lot. So I'm going to use a little clip here just to hold that in. That, not only does that hold that strip down, but it also gives me a nice edge so that I know the edge of that clip is where the end of my strip is. And so my overlapping bit, I want to be that width. So I'm going to cut this bit here. There we go. Let me just double check that. Perfect. And I'm just going to take, it is the right width, but I'm just going to take just literally hair off. Just a tiny bit, literally that bit off. So it's a little tiny bit shorter. And the reason I do that is because I often find if it's exactly the right length, at least when I do it, try it yourself, when I cut it exactly the same length, I very often end up with extra fabric left over. So there's a little tuck there. But when I cut it ever so slightly short, I don't know where that little bit's gone now. It was maybe 1/8 of an inch. Then I find it fits really well. So I've got these two. Now we want to do another one of those joins where we want the fabric at right angles to each other, and then we're going to sew from one corner to the other corner diagonally. So I'm going to put, it would be easy to have pins here, but I'm going to use my clips. So there, so we're going to want to sew from here to here. And this is where having a big gap helps. So I'm going to put my stitch length back down to normal.
Christine says happens every time with me too.
Yeah, that's why do a little tiny bit short. If it helps you at this point, draw a line so that you know exactly where to do it. I'm just going to wing it because that's how I roll. There we go. Back up to 3. Now, before I cut anything, I like to, there we go.
Joanne says this can be a bit of the binding that is a dark art.
Yes. So I always like to, before I cut anything off, just to make sure that's going to sit nicely. My seam is nice, so I'm happy with that. I've done it the right way. I have done it the wrong way before, and if you do it the wrong way, I've actually put them together and they've been twisted all over. So it's just a case of unpicking it, and thankfully it still works when you put it back together. But I don't cut anything until I know for sure that I'm happy with it. And then you just cut that bit off. and then just continue the last bit. Oh, I'm off the table. That's not good. There we go.
Diamond says that is a blooming perfect demo.
Oh, thank you very much. There we go. Do a little backwards. There we go. There, so that's all joined. And then, yeah, there will be the bits like that occasionally. Just cut those off.
Christine asked, do you have any brushed cotton by the meter? I don't have any to bind mine with.
Oh, I do actually. There's a few different colours. I'll have to see which one might be best. There's some baby, well, I'll say baby. There's some pastel colours. So there's a pastel or pale grey, pink, mint, blue. But then there's also some really nice, more grown-up tweedy sort of colours. There's a nice rusty colour. There's a red. There's a teal. There's a green, nice forest green. Yeah, have a look. There are definitely some brush cottons. I think there might be either called brush cottons or flannel. I'm not sure. But yeah, they're on the website. And yeah, those would be nice to bind with. Definitely.
Joanne says, agree with Diamond. When you pop it up on YouTube, you can label it Binding Masterclass.
Oh, bless you. Thank you.
And Diamond says,
Yep.
blooming awesome.
Thank you.
And Christine
Yep.
says, brilliant. Thank you for your clear instructions.
Oh, you're very welcome. Yeah. And then it just goes. I use these clips are invaluable. So I usually start, well, you can start in a corner or anywhere really. And then I just pop these on and then hand sew them down. I find hands finishing them is nicer than doing them on the machine. At least I find them that way, because it makes them a little bit softer. If you finish your binding on the machine, I find it, because there's a lot of seams, well not seams, but stitching all around the edge, it makes it a little bit stiffer. But it's personal preference. That's just how I like to do it. And then use a hand quilting thread to sew it down. Hand quilting thread is a bit stronger. Oh, see, I've got clips everywhere. Yeah, so it's less likely that your thread will break and you'll have to re-sew it back together again. So yeah, so that is it. And that's what that will look like. I'm quite chuffed with that actually. It even looks nice on the back. The blue, the grey. Yeah, that was a good choice. Yeah, all inspired by you, Christine, because I needed to get it done. So yeah, so that's it. Hope you enjoyed that. I will see you on Sewing Street in the morning. So I'm going to have to go Betty Buys pretty soon, because it's going to be an early start. And yeah, so I'll see you tomorrow. And for those I don't see tomorrow, I will see you next week.
Diamond says, no, if I find her earlier comment, you will have a cozy binding time. And Christine asked, do you double your thread?
No, I only do a single one. I kind of got into that habit when I started quilting, because when you hand quilt, it's only a single thread, and when I hand piece, it's only a single thread as well. So I put a knot in the end, cut length off about half a metre, so it's not super long because it doesn't get snaggled up and then gets worn in the eye of the needle. Knot on the end, and then I do the same as I normally do for quilting, so I will double over the thread even though it's single strand, and then as I sew along, I pull my needle gradually further and further to the edge, so that my eye of my needle is not in the same place of the thread wearing it, if that makes sense.
Joanne says hand quilting thread has a bit of a conditioner, so it seems to make it stronger too.
Yeah, hand quilting thread is nice for this bit, and I'll probably use a grey on this to match the flannel. So yeah, if we think about it, we might do a quickie little video of me starting to sew the back, just so you can see how I get it started. So good night all, and I will see you tomorrow. If not tomorrow, then next week.
Good night all.
Bye.